Welcome to the SHERGROUP podcast, where we share ideas on how to help businesses grow and prosper in the online world. Join host, Chief SHERGROUPie Claire Sambrook as she discusses her digital journey and how SHERGROUP is helping thousands to keep their business flowing and growing. Here on the SHERGROUPie podcast.
So, hello everyone and welcome to this version of SHERGROUP on the Sofa. I hope wherever you are in the world today, you are in a good place. It's nearly the weekend, so hang on to that thought. And as I do in all these segments that we do for SHERGROUP on the Sofa, I have my lovely guest Bruce here today, but we're going to give a shout out to our number one fan, Ross Saunders. So, hey Rossi, how are you today? Bruce, do you want to give a little shout out to Ross?
Hello, Ross. Hope you're doing good and have a good day.
Thank you so much. He supports Norwich City. I don't know if you're a soccer fan, but that's his big thing. So any Norwich City fans out there, yeah, I know nothing about soccer. I'm useless. But anyway, I that's my bit as auntie. So now I'm so excited to have you here today because I have known you since my early days of getting into marketing, my law firm in London, and I met you at an IOD event, Institute of Directors event in the Pall Mall, a number of years ago, and you were talking about sales and you were talking about how to promote a business, and at that time, I mean, law firms really didn't get into all of that, and you did an absolutely outstanding job. I know you're a regular speaker on sales all over the world, but I was just blown away by you. Made such an impression on me in such an early stage in my business life. And of course, everything that you have said and everything that you've promoted over the years has come to pass, hasn't it? About people, you know, promoting their businesses and marketing their businesses. And so you must be feeling, I'm not sure, but you must feel that, you've been vindicated in your life's career of promoting sales.
I'm very comfortable with where everything has gone, and I'm very happy to have made a contribution to probably an awful lot of people's businesses and careers.
Yeah, you definitely have. You absolutely have. And I know when we were putting the sheriffs together and modernizing the sheriffs, you came and gave a keynote speech, and we introduced you as Mr. Motivator. And I remember some crusty old sheriffs like, what are we talking about? But it was, that spawned the high court enforcement industry that we see today at that kind of launch. And here you are again talking to me today, still on sales. There's still so much to do, so much to make people feel comfortable with this subject, and get them talking to people like you who can help and support them in what is, I think it's the most challenging aspect of building a business, is getting the sales, but it's the most rewarding and it's the most necessary. Without sales, you're not going to have a business, are you? Now I know you know that, but if you're listening to this and you want some real support, then Bruce is the guy to listen to. So now, just before we get into sort of the meat of the conversation, just give us your credentials, because you've got a fabulous sort of, where did you start in sales and where you've ended up. Just give us a potted history of Bruce King's career. Go for it.
Well, I first started in sales when I was at school. I had several Saturday jobs selling. When I left college, I went into a totally different profession. In fact, I qualified as a nutritionist and I studied acupuncture. And for about 12 years, I ran one of the first alternative medical centres in the UK.
Right.
I quit that when I had a family, because in those days, alternative medicine was very alternative, and it was probably been easier to make a living as a witch doctor. And I went into sales, and I worked for several companies for a few years. Then I set up my own training company. I had some books published. The first one was published by the BBC. And that's what I've done ever since, sales and marketing.
Yeah, and you're a voice to be reckoned with in that space. I mean, the Times newspaper called you the king of UK sales. I mean, that's some accolade, right? You know, and why do you think you got that? I mean, what was it that led them to give you that crown?
Well, it's a very interesting story, actually, because the company I was working for at the time was run by a very loudmouth gentleman who claimed he had salespeople working for him who were earning £1 million a year plus.
Right.
And so the Times asked if they could send one of the reporters out to meet this person and spend the day with them. I found out afterwards that the intention was to write the most dreadful piece about me and the company. In fact, he was so impressed with what he saw during the day that he refused to write the article.
Yeah, good.
And then something happened about 3 years later, and he suddenly published this article. The Times suddenly published this article, but they wanted a good news article, and it was all about me and how great I was at sales.
Fantastic. Well, you are good at sales. I mean, that's just how you are. But I mean, so that turned out well for you. But you say that you've never sold anything to anybody. What do you mean?
Absolutely. My first couple of sales jobs, well, my very first sales job was in a gentleman's tailor. And it was a Saturday and Sunday job. And I was hired to make the coffee, get involved in everything that was going on, and I started selling. I watched what the other salespeople were doing, and I really didn't like it at all. They were very pushy. And I just set about helping people. People came in, and I helped make them look good. I recommended clothes to them that looked really great on them. And it was very obvious to me that even in those very early days, that nobody likes to be sold to, but everybody loves to buy.
Yes.
So my whole philosophy was, let's make this a really great buying experience for people.
Yeah.
And that's how I went on. And I've helped people look great. I've helped people buy the right electrical appliances. I've helped people plan fabulous holidays. I've helped people buy their ideal homes. I've helped people invest for pensions. I've helped companies plan their marketing and sales campaigns. I've helped them train their salespeople. But it's all about helping people. Of course, I also help them to buy, because everybody needs a little bit of a nudge, a gentle nudge over the finishing line. So when everything's been explained to their satisfaction and they're looking good and feeling good, you just help them to buy it by asking them an obvious question. Like, well, it seems to me we've covered everything to your total satisfaction now. Would you like to go ahead with your investment?
I know. And I'm sure when you were in that tailor's shop, you had some pretty smart guys or girls walking out with the right suit or the right check or pinstripe. So I can imagine you doing that. So, I mean, that's a great story. And it is all about helping people. If people would just see it as that rather than have to sell to people. And, you know.
You mentioned something earlier. You said that, sales doesn't necessarily have a good reputation, or people are not comfortable with it. And that's so very true. And it is all about helping people. And everybody in business is in sales. If you're not selling direct to your customers, you're selling to your team, you're selling to your boss if you're asking for a rise, you're selling to your financiers, your stakeholders, you're selling to the press. Everybody is selling.
I agree with you, and I've definitely taken a leaf out of your book with my own lovely team, and made them very aware of how they can sell to our customers and our community, but also to each other, and ultimately to me. And once you get into that, once you build that culture in a company and a business where everybody is interested in sales, then it's not just the sales department, because that almost becomes one single point of failure if they don't make it. It's the whole team. So I totally subscribe. I'm sure I've learned that from you, and I've definitely implemented that from you. So there you go. I'm a complete convert anyway. So in terms of now this word selling, I mean, the world doesn't go around without sales. I don't know why everyone's so scared of it and so talking about it, but how do you, as the UK King of Sales, how do you define selling? What does that mean to you?
I wrote a definition of selling just before my first book came out, and I have not changed a word of it since. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's still the best definition I've ever heard, although I would say that. It's quite simply this: selling is exposing companies and individuals to problems, some of which they maybe never knew they had or thought were unsolvable, and to opportunities they maybe never knew existed, and then showing them how your idea, product, or service can help them solve the problem and exploit the opportunities, and helping them to buy. Which is the little nudge over the finishing line.
Of course. But that is so true. And again, problem solving and helping buyers of products and services to understand whatever it is you're selling can fill that gap is the art of it. And if you know your products and service well, and you've got to like what you do, and you've got to be passionate about what you do, or at least for the time that you're at the office, you're 9 to 5 if you're in sales, but you've got to really be passionate about. I'm sure when you were in the tailor shop, even as a young Bruce, you were on that Saturday and Sunday. I bet you loved being there and helping people. Yeah, and that sparkle is something I certainly look for in people. When they're selling to me, I'm looking for that sparkle. That I love what I do, and I love selling. I've just done an interview recently with a travel agent who just came on the same format as you, and came with a large glass of something, a floppy hat and sunglasses, selling vacations. She did a great job. I mean, she sold to me, and I'm just interviewing her. So, I mean, I think that's a really good point, that you're solving problems and making people feel that they've got the right answer. Now, of course, to do that, one of the things that you have advocated over the years, and you make it sound very easy, and this, it's still a problem area, I think, that people still grapple with, is the one of cold calling. Yeah. Now, I know that you don't believe that that's a problem, and you just sort of like, no, okay. But I mean, and I've had, difficult cold calls, and so have my team. But the way that I view it now is there's just so many people to talk to. If you're going to have one cold call, then move on to the next person, because there's another person ready to talk to you if that person doesn't want to. I mean, what do you think about this problem we all have to get over with cold calling? What's your advice?
I think the biggest problem with cold calling, with people having to do cold calling, is they're taught so badly how to do it. I mean, when I'm in the office, I always get all calls put through to me. especially the cold calls, because I want to hear what they have to say. And some things really annoy me, and I hear them time after time after time. They'll often start with, "Hello, Bruce, how are you today?" Number one, I expect a little bit of respect from a complete stranger.
Yeah.
Call me Mr. King, at least to start with, or ask if you can call me Bruce. And how are you today? How dare they? The only stranger who's got the right to ask me that is a doctor. They don't care how I am, so why ask me? Why be insincere? And then you get people who phone you up and say, "Hello, Mr. King, I'm sorry to bother you, but..." Now think about the psychology that goes on here. The first thing you hear is, "I'm sorry," which links up in your unconscious mind to all the times when somebody did something bad and had to apologize. Great way to start a conversation. "I'm sorry to bother you, or I'm sorry to interrupt you, but means I'm going to do it anyway." It's terrible. And then the worst of all, "Hello, Mr. King," or "Hello, Bruce. This is John from so-and-so, and this is not a sales call."
What do you say when someone says that to you? I imagine you saying, "Yes, it is."
So why are you calling me then?
Okay, so I've heard you say that many times, and I'm totally with you. For the salespeople listening to this, what's that magic line then that you want people to say when you get a cold call? How would you like them to?
There's several that I use. And it depends very much on the product or service you're selling, obviously, but I'll give you two I use.
Yeah.
First one is, "Good morning, Mr. Prospect. This is Bruce King, and this is a sales call. Would you like to hang up now, or would you please give me 20 seconds to explain why I'm calling, and then you can decide if you want to continue the conversation or not."
Yeah. Okay, well, that's putting it straight out there. So somebody's going to say no.
I always get the 20 seconds.
Yeah, you always get the 20 seconds. Yeah, well, that's good.
Always.
Yeah.
And the other strategy I recommend, and this is about understanding your marketplace and the typical problems that people have. So I may call you and say, "Hello, Claire, my name is Bruce King from the Rainmakers. The reason I'm calling is that I'm working with several companies in your sector, all of whom are having the same three major challenges. So the reason I'm calling is to see if you're having a similar problem, in which case we might be able to help you too. May I continue?"
Yeah.
Now, they're going to let me continue. Why? Primarily because they want to know the three major problems that their competitors are having.
Absolutely, and I can totally understand that, and that's just such a professional and classy way to put to present yourself, without alienating anybody, or as you say, making people feel like they're being sold to. You're actually trying to solve the problem which you see in their industry, which I think is a great way. So thank you for sharing those couple of examples. I know you have many, many more, and an awful lot of content and advice in all the material that you put out. So we'll get into that in a little while. But for those of you that are in sales or want to get into sales or doing sales and don't really want to, this is a guy that is full of confidence for the right reasons, because he's done it, he understands it, and he understands the psychology of the people that you're talking to, which I think is one of the things that really comes across from your training and your experience. So, I mean, again, people don't like sales, or they tell me they don't like sales, although I see a lot less of this in SHERGROUP today because we have a great process now. But people, when we first started, cold calling as we do from our marketing lists, people, got rejected. And you've got to have a sort of personality that can take a little bit of rejection, I think, to be able to do this job. It's no big point being a shy, retiring type if you can't take a bit of rejection. So what do you say about that? I mean, how should people handle the no? Sorry, no, not interested, not today.
I think that the first thing, and I always point this out because it comes up so frequently, is if you're in sales, you have to understand what you are being paid for. And what you're being paid for is not making a sale. Because any fool can handle a yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I'll have 2 of those, please.
Yeah.
Anybody can handle a yes. What we get paid for in sales is handling the no's and picking ourselves up instantly and moving on to the next one.
Yeah.
We get paid for the no's. And if you I go through an exercise with people and I get them to count how many times they've had a no before they get to a sale, and then work out how much each no has actually earned them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when I do that, I say, okay, so if I were to pay you £20 for each no, what time would you get in the morning? How long would you take for lunch? And what time would you go home in the evening?
Yeah, they'd be there all day.
And as far as rejection is concerned, anyway, look, we have it. It's how you take it. And one of the most important things, in my view, is understand why you are making the call. And the call is not to make a sale. It can be a number of different things. If you get an absolute no, don't ever call me again, I don't ever want to hear from you, goodbye, that's great. That's one to cross off your list. You don't have to follow them up again.
Yeah.
It could be that you find out as a result of a brief conversation that this is not the right time for them. They don't have a need for this particular product or service at the moment, but you'll put them on your carry forward list.
Yeah.
It's not just about, yes, I made a sale, and no, I didn't. There's a number of reasons why. And you could end up getting some very valuable market research just from having a conversation that will help you with subsequent calls.
Yes, I think that's right. And what we have been able to do, again, with many of the facets of what you've trained us on, is to build a community really of people that don't all want to buy today, but it's fine because we have so many people in our community. We're not reaching out to the same people every week or every month even. And of course they know about us, they've had a friendly conversation with us, and they'll come and find us apart from anything else, which is really nice. So I think if you can think of it more about building a community of people that are interested in your product and service rather than I've got to get a yesterday. It takes time to build that, but it's all doable. So I think that's important. So rejection is a fact of life. We have it in all walks, in every facet of what we do. You remember for our kids, they're not happy with something, so you're going to take rejection. But I think in business, if you can just see that you're going to talk to the next person and they're going to be okay, and you've got to have a process for that. And I know that you train on that and how to set up a sales process as well. Now, in your training, which we have used over the years, because my sales team started to ask me the questions which I didn't have the answers to. So I came to your resources, as you know, for the coaching online, which was fantastic. And it answered so many of the questions to be able to coach them and mentor them. But a lot of what you talk about is personal development. for salespeople as well, which I think is really important, because business owners, they want the sales, but they may not understand how they're going to get them. They just know they need them. And what your support and mentoring does is to help people develop, personal development strategies. Do you just want to sort of highlight a couple of those that you kind of think are really important for salespeople?
Well, I think it was Albert Einstein who said success is 80% attitude and 20% skills.
Yeah.
I don't entirely agree with that, but attitude is everything. If you haven't got the right attitude, then you've got a problem.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest, I spent a lot of time, I think I said to you earlier, I spent about 10 years in alternative medicine. And a lot of that time was spent working with people, psychologists, and understanding how the human brain works.
Yeah.
Because that was an essential part of alternative medicine. So one of the biggest challenges that I find people have is it's either semi-permanent or permanent, or they slump into it, is they don't feel they can succeed at something. Well, they're not a successful person. I'm just not a successful person. I am not going to be able to achieve that. And I have a wonderful exercise I use with these people, and I'd highly recommend it to anybody who might be listening who thinks that they're not quite as successful as they would like to be. And what I say is, you take several sheets of paper, because you are going to need several sheets of paper.
Yeah.
And going back to the earliest time in your life you can possibly remember, I want you to write down everything that you were successful at. You can start with learning to ride a bike, if you like, or swimming the width of a swimming pool, or climbing a tree, and getting to the top of it. Write down every single thing from as far back as you can remember until today. And what they find is that they have, hundreds of things they have been successful at in the past.
Yeah, which, we take those things almost for granted, don't we? We don't actually see them as successful, but as human beings, of course, they are all part of our development. And so, okay, so you get them to write down all the things that they've been successful. And then what is your next step once they've done that?
Now tell me you haven't been successful.
Okay. And what that changes their mindset around success is.
You change your focus.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on failure, because if you focus on failure, you'll attract lots more failure to you.
Yeah.
You focus on being positive and focus on the fact that you have been successful and can be successful, and you'll attract success to you. We become what we think we are.
Yes.
It's just a fact.
Yeah.
It's not an airy-fairy statement. It is a fact. We do become what we think we are.
Well, it's a phrase, self-limiting beliefs, isn't it? That's what.
Self-limiting beliefs. People have lots of those.
Yeah, they do, and of course, in sales, it's something that you've got to grasp, and you've got to feel successful. You've got to want to be successful, and hopefully, I hope that they've got someone like you in their background, either as their team leader or their manager, or their mentor, that is supporting them in wanting to be successful, because the pressure is on all of us now because of social media and everything else to be successful. And I think it's something that we have to continue to support and reinforce with people and give them a successful climate in our businesses that they want to be successful. So I'm sure you're all about that as well. So you've got this new. We've talked about your books in the past. You've got masses of content that you've been producing way before content production was the sort of thing that it is today. You've been producing content continuously over the last 30 years, longer than that, books and materials, videos.
25, 30 years. I try not to remember how long it's been.
I know, but the thing is that it's as good today as it was then, right? I mean, what you're promoting and telling us to follow, it hasn't really changed in the world of sales. I don't think it's sort of evergreen content. And how have you packaged that up now into the Rainmakers Club? Is that something that you've brought all this content to?
Well, the thing is that sales and marketing are inextricably combined. And even if you are purely in sales, there's an awful lot that comes under the marketing umbrella. And for many years, I've always been involved in advising people on marketing, but it wasn't a major focus. I never combined the two so that we had a total sales and marketing package. And it was 3 years ago that I was approached by somebody called Chris Haycock, who's held some of the top marketing positions in the country, set himself up in business and was very successful in developing marketing campaigns for his own business. In fact, his personal business websites, are used by 1 in 6 of the UK population.
Wow.
So he knows how to get the word out.
Yeah, fantastic.
And we just decided to put together a complete portal that contained everything that I know about sales and everything that he knew about marketing. And we call it the Rainmakers Club.
Fantastic. And it obviously has its own website. I think it's got its own Facebook page, and you must be on other channels as well. So we definitely
all the usual.
We want our community to go and check that out for materials. And your coaching, you did a lot of work around producing coaching videos in the past. What have you done with that content? Have you put that into Rainmakers, or have you got
It's
a channel?
all in the Rainmakers as well. It's therainmakers.club. Right.
Because that content was really helpful to me and my team. And is it still the bite-sized chunk videos that you did, or is it changed format?
All of those bite-sized videos are in there. I'm the greatest believer in micro-learning, in giving people just one thing to do, go away, do it, put it into practice, and then come back for something else. I have also produced several much longer videos which are in the platform, and Chris, because he finds that marketing can be so much more complex, or there's more to explain, his material is probably 3 to 4 times longer than most of mine. But the combination of the two it's a very powerful package.
Okay, well, we definitely all want to go and check that out for sure. But I do want to recommend that micro learning for salespeople, because we're busy. We've got our eye on our figures. We've got our eye on the clock, and we want to achieve a good result every day as far as we can. And training, days out of the office for training, well, that's all gone now, thank goodness. It's on platforms like the one that you've put together with Chris, and it's just fantastic that we can do all this training from our desks, on our devices. And I know that what I love about your training is that you've handled in that every objection that a salesperson could put, in terms of how to handle gatekeepers and, everything that that people come across. And we have definitely used that in Share Group, and it's been fantastic. And we didn't have to have, I'm going to say, an expensive sales manager. We used your videos and then built our own process around that. So we've built a good process that we understand. And I'm sure other business owners could do that as well, because, if you're not a salesperson, how do you recruit and manage a sales manager? That's a dilemma, isn't it? Especially if they don't perform and it's expensive.
It's quite interesting that so many salespeople that I meet, and I meet an awful lot, say that they get little or no support from their sales manager whatsoever. It's just, how much business have you done today? How much business are you going to do this month? And if not, why not? Yeah. But not a lot of help.
No. Well, again, taking notes from you, we do our call every day. We listen to who our customers are. We coach. We look for opportunities. We share. It's a team effort. It has to be a team effort. Otherwise, it just won't stick. And especially for those companies that perhaps need a sales function but don't have the bandwidth to have a full-on sales department. And anyway, like you said, everything's getting mashed up now into marketing and sales. So people that were doing sales are now doing a bit of social media, and the prospecting has changed, and they're looking at all these different channels, which I think is fascinating. I mean, I absolutely love it. I just think the world has got to a great place, but it's just knowing how to augment all this content and opportunity into something that works for your business. And I think for many business owners, which is what Share Group is all about, is supporting business owners. It can be overwhelming because it's just so much noise, and how to compete with competitors who appear to have the boxes ticked. They have a Facebook page, they have an Instagram, and you're still, how do I get my website to do that? It's hard.
I think one of the biggest challenges, Claire, is the fact that we now have so much information available to us at the click of a mouse.
Yes.
And it becomes overwhelming. And one of the exercises that I like to take my business clients through is, it's a very simple exercise. It's make a list of all the things that you do every day, and then identify the 6 things that you must do every day that will help you achieve the success you want in your business. Yeah. There's going to be 6 things maximum that have to be done every day that will create that phenomenal success. Identify them and stick to those.
Yeah.
Not every shiny new thing that comes up.
Yeah, I know. And there's lots of new shiny things coming up. Again, I'll just share my experience. We do have an hour meeting a day on marketing and sales to maintain the momentum of keeping up all of our content and just creating new content and keeping our website moving forward. And as a business owner, I know that seems a lot, and it's maybe not your cup of tea, but your website is such an important part of getting people to your business. And anyway, I don't need to tell you that, but I think we're on the same page in terms of what we're telling people listening to this video. And alongside those channels, those virtual channels, obviously networking is another important facet of sales and marketing.
Yes.
And it's I bet you're a consummate networker. I bet you can glide around a room and elicit lots of business cards. But some people find it quite tough, don't they? Well, what do you say to people who are retiring types and get put into a networking situation? How can they conquer their fear of networking?
Well, with some networking organizations, and I believe you belong to one or two.
Yeah, I do.
You are forced to stand up and deliver a 30-second or 1-minute elevator pitch. Yeah. So you have to have one. I think that one of the biggest mistakes people make, though, is that when they go to these open networking meetings and they're moving around, it's been so drummed into people that they've got to have an elevator pitch and they've got to use an elevator pitch. That's all they're thinking about. Who can I go and give my elevator pitch to?
Yeah, I've definitely been in that position. Yeah.
So I take a totally different approach.
Oh, good.
Because people will always, out of politeness, ask you, so tell me, what do you do, Bruce?
Yeah.
They don't really want to know. They just saying that so that I'll then say to them, so tell me what you do, and they can give me their elevator pitch. So when somebody says to me, so tell me, what do you do, Bruce? I say, oh, it's very boring. Tell me what you do. And then as they explain to me, I ask if I think they could be a potential customer for me. I'll ask them questions like, what's the biggest project you're working on at the moment? How much of that do you outsource? Who are you doing business with? What sector is that in? And I will identify areas, hopefully, where I know I can help them. And when I tell them what I do, I'm going to tell them the problems I'm going to solve for them that they just told me about.
Of course, of course. Very elegantly done. I mean, it's just turning the tables. And rather than talking about yourself and just rushing that elevator pitch out, you're making it much, much easier. Oh, lost my voice. Excuse me.
It's all right. You got the same glass as me.
Yeah. No vodka in it, just water. I just want to re-emphasize that when you found that. Yeah, so you're just turning the tables nicely, very elegantly, and getting them to tell you about their business, and then seeing how you can, as you say, solve the problems that they've talked about.
Which is what they wanted to do anyway.
I know. I mean, over my career, I've been to many of those networking events. And I think I've taken a similar tack, really, because when people ask me what SHERGROUP does, in one way it's quite narrow, although we've broadened our spectrum a lot. But like you, I think you're genuinely interested in what people are doing and what their business is. I mean, that comes across in everything. You're so inquisitive in a good way, and you just want to understand what problems are. And I think I'm a bit the same. And so it's much better if somebody just shares the problems. And I would encourage anyone, again, listening to this, to take a leaf out of Bruce's book, because actually, if you're at a networking event and somebody says to you, well, tell me about yourself, so few people do that. Actually, so few people will say, well, you have a go. It's a bit boring what I do. You have a go. And, you actually sort of warm to people like that, don't you? You think, well, that's nice. They're actually asking me. I've been at this event like for the last half an hour and nobody's asked me anything about my business, or they're just drummed in, just want to shout at me or tell me about them. But actually, if you say, well, you tell me what you do and I'm interested, that's a nice kind of way to start a conversation and build a relationship.
Yes.
So yes, and I do go to, I am in BNI, as you know, and a few other networking groups. And for some of us, I don't find networking easy. I find it quite difficult. But I like the formula. And it's given me, and I suspect other people, that much needed confidence. So getting over that self-limiting belief and, being confident. So sometimes when you meet people, they might appear as confident, but maybe inside they're not. And, again, give them some room to explain about themselves and share about themselves. And don't be intimidated by people, because not everybody is super confident, and they're just looking for that that little sparkle that you definitely have. And I thank you for all your interest and support in Share Group over the years. You've been a fantastic mentor to me, albeit sometimes a bit remotely. But when I heard you speak that day in the IOD, you made such an impression, and again, everything that you said then has come to pass. So I wish you every success with Rainmakers. That sounds a fantastic, fantastic function of bringing marketing and sales together. So people, you've got a website, you've got all the social media channels. But I want to, before we go today, I just want to ask you the one question that I need to ask you, which is, what is the best way to close a sale? Because you must be the best closer ever. So what is the best way to close a sale?
There's lots of different ways to close a sale, depending on the circumstances. But I think one of the closes I use most frequently is when I think we've covered pretty much everything that we need to cover in a sales meeting. I'll say, well, let me just summarize the situation then. You have the following problems, and my solutions are Are you convinced that my solutions will solve your problems? The answer is normally yes. If it's I'm not sure yet, or I need to think about it, then I've got to come back because that's an objection. Yeah. But assuming they say yes, I then simply say, so what would you like to happen next?
And what is
There's only one logical answer. They're going to go ahead with my suggestion.
But for the derivatives, I'm sure you cover that in your training, right? If they, as you say, they're not sure, or they want to think about it, or they need to get
absolutely. I mean, the classic one, and I bet everybody who is listening to this, who is in sales, has heard it many times, is I need to think it over.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not interested in anybody thinking it over. I want a yes or a no.
Yeah.
If they have to discuss it with somebody else, that's another story. But if they have to think it over, then I will say, I appreciate you might want to think it over. But generally speaking, when somebody says that to me, it means I haven't explained something properly. So please tell me, what is it I've not made clear?
Another elegant way of overcoming the objection.
So I'm blaming it on myself.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not blaming it on them.
No.
I'm saying, please tell me, where did I go wrong?
Yeah.
And generally speaking, the final concerns, if there are any, will come out. You just have to deal with them.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot there to unpack, and I know we've only just sort of scraped the surface of this fascinating subject of sales and your career in sales, and all the advice and support that you can give salespeople wherever they are in their journey, in their career. I mean, it could be a top sales guy, it could be somebody just coming into sales. I think Bruce has been there, done that, and got the T-shirt, and can give you enormous amount of advice. Now, what you've done is you've curated all of this fantastic content onto the Rainmakers.club platform. Have I got that right? Yeah.
Thank you.
So all of your experience you've now, which again, I mean, is brilliant to have bottled that up and put it into that platform, which, if we didn't have that, you'd still be going to the IOD, I expect, and, and going out and visiting people. I know you've done a lot of that in your career, but how brilliant that you can get it on a platform, and, how many people you can reach with that content, not only in this country, but in the States and, anywhere that is it in different languages, or is it still in English? Or
That's the Rainmakers is only in English. My other program, the Sales Coaching Online program, which was the one that you had access to originally, that is a big success in China. All the videos have been dubbed in Chinese.
I remember you telling me it was going to happen. That's amazing.
So it's me speaking Chinese. It's very funny. We've also got some good coverage in India now. And it's in a few countries.
That's amazing. I'm so pleased to hear that. And I must just send me the link for the Chinese. I need to have a look at that. It sounds great. All right. So Bruce, thank you so much for your very precious time today. We appreciate it. Please go and check Bruce out. You can find him, just put Bruce King into Google, but look at the Rainmakers.club Facebook website and Facebook page and all the socials. For everyone else, Share Group, we have learned a lot from Bruce over the years. We have built our platform to help business owners solve the problems that come on their desks. What are those problems? You know what? They are every problem that I have had in building Share Group in the last 30 years. So every sleepless night you have had, I've had it. And one of those sleepless nights has been marketing. Another one has been sales. And how do I get my brand out there? And people like Bruce have influenced me. And now I hope, and that's why I'm bringing him to you, so that you can also learn from him about how to conquer some of these problems that you feel are overwhelming. I've been there. I've lived that life. I don't want to live it anymore. And I don't feel I am. So, and that's from someone that had to conquer that limiting belief, right? So please take a leaf out of Bruce's book, go and check him out, and let's see if you can build your business, your sales program, your marketing with all of that good advice. Bruce, my friend, thank you so much for your time today. I hope you'll come and visit me on the sofa, because whatever you've got to say is valuable for business owners. And anything you want to promote and tell us about Rainmakers, come back and see us, okay? Because we'd love to hear it and put it on this channel, okay? Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks for listening to the Share Groupie podcast. To join our Share Groupie community, subscribe by going to our website at www.sharegroup.com. Keep up with the latest Share Group news across all our main channels, including YouTube, LinkedIn, and across all social media. Stay connected and begin building more business relationships.